When it comes to Costco, most of us immediately think of low prices, huge quantities, and that satisfying feeling of you win just by buying. But behind those towering shelves and deals that seem impossible to pass up, there are actually items that can make you waste money rather than save it. A former Costco employee has spoken out with a warning. Not everything that looks like a steal is worth bringing home. From food that spoils fast to low-quality personal care products to giant-sized items you'll never finish, this list will make you take a second look at your cart every time you shop at Costco. Subscribe to the channel to get notified of the latest videos.
Wow!
1. Driscoll's strawberries, 2 lbs. Those big, bright red boxes of strawberries at Costco are always super tempting. The berries are huge and perfectly colored, and you want to grab them the moment you see them. But that excitement usually disappears the second you get them home. Strawberries are an extremely delicate fruit. They start losing quality the moment they're picked, and with a 2-pound box, they go bad much faster than you'd expect. A lot of people think buying more means you'll eat more. Reality is different. The strawberries in these giant packs are often harvested before they're fully ripe, so they can survive shipping. So when you open the box, some berries taste bland, some are still hard, and others are already mushy. Just one moldy berry is enough to ruin the whole container in no time. The ventilated packaging sounds like a good thing, but it actually traps moisture inside. That trapped humidity makes the berries get soft, watery, and moldy super fast. You buy a box thinking you're getting healthy fruit, but then you spend time sorting through it and usually end up throwing a big portion away. For a fruit that needs to be almost perfectly fresh like strawberries, smaller packages usually make way more sense. It's not that Costco's strawberries are low quality, it's that strawberries have such a short shelf life. They just don't fit the buy in bulk to save idea. The money you think you're saving often turns into waste that you could have completely avoided. 2. Kirkland Trail Mix, 4 lbs. At Costco, the giant bags of trail mix always feel like a smart, budget-friendly choice. Just a few bucks for what looks like a month's worth of snacks. That's exactly when the feeling of getting a great deal starts fooling you. Because once you open the bag, you quickly realize you just bought something that doesn't quite match what you had in mind. The problem starts with the ingredients. Trail mix is supposed to be a nice balance of nuts and dried fruit, but the Kirkland Jumbo version is completely off balance. Raisins dominate everything, while the expensive nuts barely show up. It feels like looking at a beautiful food photo, then taking a bite and realizing you mostly got the side dish while the good stuff is almost missing. The second issue comes from the M&Ms. In a cool environment, they're fine. But the moment the bag moves around in your purse or sits in a warm car, the candy coating melts and turns the whole mix into a sticky, clumpy mess that's hard to portion and no longer convenient at all. Finally, there's the size. A 4-pound bag might sound perfect for a big family, but for the average person, it's a recipe for waste. Nuts get stale, and dried fruit absorbs moisture. You buy it thinking you'll have a healthy snack ready to go, but just a few weeks later, that bag becomes something nobody wants to touch. Buying in bulk doesn't always mean saving money. When it comes to trail mix, sometimes the smaller package is actually the smarter choice. 3. Kirkland AA batteries, 48-pack. To a lot of people, the 48-pack of Kirkland AA batteries looks like the ultimate deal. Low price, huge quantity, familiar brand. At first glance, it feels like a choice you literally can't go wrong with. But once you use them in devices that need reliable, steady power, the story changes completely. The biggest concern isn't battery life, it's stability and safety. Multiple independent tests have shown that Kirkland batteries have a significantly higher leak rate than premium brands. Even a tiny bit of leaked chemical is enough to corrode circuit boards and permanently damage small devices like remotes, sensors, or cameras. Even more importantly, these batteries aren't great for devices that need strong, consistent power. Cameras, gaming controllers, smart devices. They all demand stable voltage. Kirkland batteries often drop voltage, cut out randomly, or die suddenly, interrupting your experience and shortening the life of your gear. Buying a huge pack of cheap batteries can sound like a smart money move, but one cheap leaking battery can destroy something worth many times more than the money you saved. That initial savings can quickly turn into repair or replacement costs. So choosing higher quality batteries isn't just a smart investment. It's also the best way to protect the devices you use every day. 4. Nutiva coconut oil, 78 os. Coconut oil always brings to mind a clean, natural, healthy lifestyle. Just having a small jar in the kitchen already makes you feel like you're taking charge of what you eat and how you take care of your body. But when you switch to the giant 78-ounce Nutiva jar from Costco, everything changes. What you bring home is no longer a handy ingredient. It becomes a bulky product that goes bad quickly and is almost impossible to finish. Coconut oil stays fine while the jar is still sealed. The moment you open it, though, the quality starts dropping fast. After a few months, it oxidizes. That nice light coconut scent disappears and gets replaced by an off, unpleasant smell that makes you hesitate to keep using it. On top of that, coconut oil is always changing states depending on the temperature. Solid when it's cool, liquid when it's warm. With such a huge jar, it turns into a lumpy mess that sticks to the sides and makes scooping a real hassle every single time. You think you're saving money, but in reality, it's the opposite. Most people only use a tiny amount for cooking or for skin and hair care. The rest just sits in the corner of the kitchen for months, then ends up in the trash because it no longer tastes or smells right. That savings you thought you got quickly turns into pure waste. Coconut oil is still a great product, but only when you buy the right amount for your actual needs. Sometimes a small jar makes way more sense. It's easier to store, easier to finish, and it keeps all the quality and value you expected when you bought it. 5. Hana Organic Hummus, 32 yen. Hummus seems like a simple food, but it actually demands near-perfect freshness to keep its full flavor. That little bit of richness from tahini, the gentle tang of lemon, and the soft aroma of garlic, everything has to come together in a smooth, creamy texture. So when you're standing in front of the giant 32-ounce tub at Costco, it's really easy to get tempted by the low price and the idea that one purchase will last the whole week. In reality, though, things rarely work out the way you picture. The moment you break the seal, the quality countdown starts ticking. Even though it's made to organic standards and doesn't use strong preservatives, this hummus is only at its absolute best for about 4 to 5 days. After that, the top layer starts drying out, and you see darker streaks appear. When you try to stir it back together, the texture is no longer silky, and that signature flavor has faded noticeably. A dip that's supposed to be healthy slowly turns into a bland, unexciting pâté you no longer feel like putting on the table. The huge size also means it takes up a serious chunk of fridge space. The longer it sits, the more its natural moisture escapes, and what's left at the bottom loses every bit of its original appeal. Hummus simply wasn't designed to hang around for weeks in a normal household fridge. It needs to be eaten fast, in the right portions, while it's still truly fresh. Choosing the smaller size almost always makes more sense, because what you really want is a delicious, healthy dip that tastes great from start to finish, not a giant container that's only living up to half its potential by the time you reach the last few scoops. 6. Kirkland Shampoo and Conditioner, huge bottles. The jumbo bottles of Kirkland shampoo and conditioner always feel like the ultimate budget-friendly win. Low price, tons of product, should last forever. But sometimes that smart savings actually opens the door to a bunch of frustrations you never saw coming. The thing that disappoints most people is the recent formula change. What used to be praised as gentle and easy to use has quietly turned drying and stripping. After each wash, hair feels less soft and manageable. The new version uses stronger cleansing ingredients, so even healthy hair can end up looking frizzy, while color-treated or curly hair becomes almost impossible to control. It's the kind of sneaky switch you only notice once your hair starts fighting back. Beyond the formula, the bottle size itself is a real hassle. They're big, heavy, and slippery when your hands are wet. Every time you reach up to the shower shelf to grab one, it feels like you're wrestling with a bulky, unfriendly object in a tiny space. Washing your hair goes from a simple routine to something awkward and uncomfortable. And because the bottles are so huge, anyone who doesn't use shampoo every day ends up staring at the same half-full containers for months. With constant air exposure, the quality slowly shifts. The scent fades, the texture gets weird, and it just doesn't feel the same anymore. Saving money is always a good idea. But when it comes to hair care products, just the right amount often matters more than buying the biggest one. Smaller bottles that are easier to handle and actually match your hair type almost always give you a much more pleasant, consistent experience every single day. Comment number 1 and like this video, and I'll reveal something even more shocking. Siebe, rotisserie chicken, $4.99. That $4.99 rotisserie chicken is basically Costco royalty. Hot, juicy, smells incredible, and the price hasn't budged in years. On a busy night, it's the ultimate fast, cheap dinner fix. But behind that golden, crispy skin, there are a few things worth thinking twice about. Most of that amazing flavor comes from a heavy saltwater brine they inject into the bird. It makes the meat tender, sure, but it also pumps the sodium through the roof. Even a small portion can blow past the daily recommended salt intake. And let's be real, most of us don't stop at a small portion. Another thing people miss: to keep them ready all day, some chickens sit in the warmer for hours. That means they can dry out, shrink a little, and get tougher, even if they're still hot. So quality isn't always 100% consistent from one trip to the next. Then there's the skin. To get it that perfect crispy golden color, they use high-heat industrial oils. Fine once in a while, but not ideal if this chicken becomes a weekly habit. Nobody's arguing $4.99 isn't an insane deal for a whole cooked chicken. It absolutely is. But cheap doesn't automatically mean healthy or smart long-term. Grabbing it every now and then for convenience? Totally fine. Making it a regular dinner? That's when you might want to pump the brakes and think about your health. 8. Hot dog and soda combo, $50. Nothing says Costco like the $1.50 hot dog and soda combo. A price that defies inflation and feels like Costco is personally high-fiving every customer. But when you look at it through a health lens instead of a wallet lens, the picture changes fast. That hot dog is a sodium, saturated fat, and preservative bomb. The Frank alone packs over half the calories most people should eat at lunch. Add the soft bun, toppings, and a giant cup of sugary soda, and you're easily blowing past a healthy meal's worth of calories, salt, and sugar. For a lot of people, it's just a quick treat. But if it becomes a habit, your body won't thank you. The real magic is the price. It feels like you're beating the system. The hidden cost is what it does later. Sodium spikes blood pressure, sugar spikes blood sugar, and the nitrites in processed meats are something most nutritionists say to limit as much as possible. Cheap is tempting, always. But when health is the real currency, you have to decide. Is this a fun once-in-a-while thing, or is it sneaking into your routine too often? The $1.50 combo can still be a happy tradition. Just keep it occasional instead of every day. 9. Frozen croissants, box of 72. Those frozen croissants at Costco look incredible in the box. A huge pile of golden, buttery promises that scream fancy European breakfast at home. You imagine lazy weekend mornings with fresh-baked pastry. Reality hits the second you actually try to make them. These aren't throw them in the oven, simple. To get the perfect rise and those beautiful flaky layers, you have to proof them for hours, sometimes overnight. Temperature, timing, spacing, everything has to be exact. Mess up by even a few minutes, and they burn on the outside while staying doughy and heavy inside. What's supposed to be a treat turns into a full baking project most families aren't signed up for. Then there's the storage problem. A box of 72 takes up massive freezer real estate. After the first couple of excited batches, the novelty wears off. The box gets shoved to the back and forgotten for weeks or months. They're not bad croissants. They're just not realistic for most households. You're usually better off buying a small pack of fresh ones from the bakery when you actually want them. That way, you get the delicious, buttery experience without the stress, wasted space, or half a freezer full of guilt. 10. Cookbooks by the checkout lane. Those gorgeous cookbooks stacked right next to the registers know exactly what they're doing. Bright covers, mouth-watering photos, titles that scream, "Your dinners are about to level up." You're waiting in line, you toss one in the cart, and suddenly you're a culinary rock star. In your head. Here's what most people don't realize. These books are designed to sell in 30 seconds of impulse, not to live in your kitchen for years. Inside, it's usually one of two extremes. Way too basic, here's how to boil water. Or way too fancy. Ingredients you've never heard of and 4-hour recipes. Neither works for real-life weeknight cooking. Plus, that thick, beautiful book ends up on a shelf after you try 2 or 3 recipes. Tops. Studies show the average person only ever makes 2 to 3 recipes from any cookbook they own. So it quietly turns from inspiration into expensive coffee table decoration. Buying cookbooks isn't wrong. Buying them on a whim usually is. You're almost always better off with one focused, realistic book you'll actually use, or just a few trusted recipes you print or save on your phone. 11. Kirkland Multivitamins 500 Count Bottle. On the surface, a 500 count bottle of Kirkland Daily Multivitamins looks like the ultimate health hack. Super cheap per pill. One bottle lasts over a year, feels responsible. But giant bottles come with hidden problems. Vitamins, especially B and C, break down fast once the seal is broken and air gets in. After about 6 months, potency drops hard. By the time you're halfway through the bottle, you're basically swallowing weaker and weaker pills, and you can't even tell. Also, most adults who eat decently don't actually need a multivitamin every single day. Your body only keeps what it needs. The rest gets peed out. Hello, neon yellow urine. So taking more doesn't mean getting more benefits. It just means spending more. A bottle that big also makes it easy to fall off the daily habit. You forget for weeks, then start again, and the whole thing stretches out way past the point where the vitamins are still good. Smaller bottles with stable, high-quality formulas that match what you really need are almost always the smarter buy. When it comes to health, bigger is rarely better. Shopping at Costco always feels like saving money, but bigger and cheaper doesn't automatically mean smarter. Once you understand how these products really behave in real life, a lot of those amazing deals turn out to be money wasters, quality killers, or even bad for your health. Real savings isn't about how much you buy. It's about being smart enough to only put in your cart what you'll actually use and enjoy. Did this video help you? Subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers.